That's great. Well, my name's Tony Ripley, and I am part of the Egan Rotary Club. And this is a wonderful partnership. It's a wonderful partnership that's been put together between the Egan Rotary Club and the Burnsville Rotary Club. And if you haven't heard of Rotary, I'll explain a little bit of what that is as well, so that you can get kind of an idea for that. And we've been putting on this ethics workshop for 20 years now with Egan. And this thing has been awesome. It's actually a cooperation with some folks from the University of St. Thomas. There's a gentleman named Dr. Goodpaster. And Dr. Goodpaster used to be a Harvard professor. He said it was a little bit too much pressure, so he came and started working at the University of St. Thomas. He's written books on ethics. He actually has ethics words that he's coined that are in the dictionary because of Dr. Goodpaster. And you'll learn about that at this workshop. One's called teleopathy, which is kind of cool. Now, he partnered with another gentleman named David Rodborn. And David Rodborn has put together this thing for the graduate students at the University of St. Thomas. And it's this thing where they do this mock company where you guys would be CEOs. So you're going to have a lot of terms, whether we're going to call you either emergent leaders or CEOs. I prefer the mighty mitochondria that engulfs mediocrity. That's what you guys are. All right, sorry, don't get laughed at my jokes. My jokes are bad. But I will tell you this. One of the things that's cool is through the course of this day, you're going to get immersed into the topic of ethics. In the morning, we're going to try to get your interest into this thing, because it's not something that we think about all the time. You guys think about ethics all the time? I mean, you see it all the time in the news. I want you to, if you can, the next minute or two, I want you to think of an ethical issue that you might have seen in the news, and then I'll give you a chance to respond in a second. So I'm going to give you a minute or two to think about it as I tell you about a couple, because these things are all over the place. So 3 days ago, I got a phone call, and it's a really bad phone call, and it was from my real estate agent. I'm trying to sell some land down in Fairwood. Now, yeah, right, you can already see where this is going. Do you want to buy some land in Fairwood? He would have liked it. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
He's all ears.
Right.
Another example may work.
Well, I'm not going to, you might be in the circles, you might know it. But I have to tell you about this conversation, because it threw my wife and I for a loop as we're working through this. See, we bought this land, and I'll tell you the logistics. We bought it thinking that we were going to move there and build its lake access property. It's $135,000. We thought it's 2.7 acres. It was beautiful in 2001. So you know where I'm going. Now, what happened is, in the course of time, we realized we moved, I've changed careers, this is different than what we're going to do. And so I said, well, let's put it up for sale. And about a year ago, we did. And we're thinking, this is going to be great if this thing sells and we can at least make our money back, because we're starting to lose money and the market's way down. There's a home or a lot that sold at the same size on the other side of the lake for $27,000. That's like punch in the gut, right? Because what that says to me is that my lot is probably worth about the same, because it's similar size, about $27,000. We're what you would be called upside down on that. You know what I mean by upside down? It's like when you're hanging from a tree upside down is really what it is. It means that we have more money that we owe on this than what we would get out of it if we were to sell it. So it's a bad scenario. So, you know, my real estate agent said, I know some of your situation. He goes, I don't think anybody would blame you if you just defaulted on your loan and didn't pay it. You'd have about a 3 or 5, maybe a 7-year hit in your credit. But what if it was 5 to 7 years on your credit if you didn't pay it? And I'm suddenly stuck in this dilemma. What do I do? Do I do what's just going to be best for me in the short run? In the long run? Are there other considerations to think about? You see, this could be, and is, in my opinion, an ethical dilemma. It's an ethical situation where you start to think through what's right and what's wrong. And immediately I was kind of going, sweet, 3 to 5 years, we got that, we don't have to pay X number of dollars a month. This is going to be easier for us, let's ditch this property. And my wife said, wait a second, we just can't do that. Okay. How about this? Do you guys ever see anything like that in school where you might be dealing with ethical situations? I'm going to share with you, anybody who plays sports. What do you play?
Basketball.
Basketball?
Cross country.
Cross country, okay, great. Do you have a good basketball team?
We're
Pretty good basketball team? All right. Have you ever heard of the term politics?
Yeah.
When it comes to who gets to make the team or anything like that?
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting that you'll see, a lot of times you always hear the stories where it's like, yeah, he wouldn't be on the team except for his dad knows the coach, or things of that nature. That stuff isn't just what happens when you're an adult having to deal with that. It happens when you're a kid. And how about, and it's going to get brought up on the day of our ethics workshop, cheating and all kinds of other things like that. Okay? So this is stuff that we're immersed in all the time, but we don't talk about it a whole lot. And that's kind of the point of what we're going to do, is we're going to spend, now I want you to take a look at your schedule. And let me ask you this, if you have one, anybody have one example for me? I said I'd give you a chance. I mean, raise your hand, you got one example of anything that's like, here's something ethical that's going on in the world. You guys are the CEOs. There you go.
Job outsourcing.
Job outsourcing. Wow. She is ready for the workshop. Tell me what you mean.
I don't know. Like you shut down factories or corp businesses here, and they send those jobs to countries where it's less expensive and labor's cheaper, and it's not as much better working conditions in the other countries than there are in.
I think she just wrote the symposium. No, that's very good. Thank you. What a great idea. And that's absolutely right. So starting to think through some of these things. As you're going into something like, oh, say, international business, you'll be running into that. As you're, maybe as an engineer, or even in a theater production, you'll be running into these ethical situations. It's going to be a part of your life. So, gang, we're going to go through a whole course of a day, and we're going to be immersing ourselves into the subject of ethics. The beginning of this, again, is just to really pique your interest. Look at the schedule, and you'll see that sessions 1 and 2 are going to be about that. Now, you're going to take some active roles in session 2. I'll get to that in a second, and session 3 as well. Then sessions 4 and 5, that's actually going to be the part that I'm going to be teaching. Sessions 4 and 5 is really going through some of the different ways that you can surround your brain around an ethical situation, and what we're going to try to do is we're going to take all this stuff that's gray, split it up into black and white. Does that make sense? So that we can have a framework of how we're going to look at things that are ethical situations in our lives. Not only now, but as we're in the business world or whatever it is that we're doing. Okay? And then here comes the best part for you guys. I mean, I'm fairly entertaining, but sessions 6 and 7 you're going to love. What we're going to do is you're going to get into groups. You and the other 3 of you will be leading groups of 5 or 6. Hopefully, there'll be 6 total in your team, okay, depending on how the numbers play out. You're going to be the CEOs. Everybody else is going to get a role. So there's going to be a vice president of marketing. There's going to be a vice president of manufacturing. And all these people, you're literally owning then a company. And you guys are going to have to work through a major ethical dilemma. Now, this ethical dilemma is very similar to the one that you just mentioned. So it's going to have to deal with overseas working and good working conditions or bad working conditions. And what does it look like? We're going to try to set this up so that it's really challenging. Have you guys any of you ever heard of a murder mystery dinner? Okay. What that is it's where this whole table of everybody here is sitting around, and one of you is the murderer. And what we have to do is everybody plays the role to figure out, and they say their lines to figure out, and by the end of it, you try to guess who's the murderer. It's going to come at you this way as you're running your company. It's not going to be a murder mystery dinner, but the way that you receive messages is going to be similar to that. In that, let's say that Pete, if he's the vice president of manufacturing, he'll receive a message that he's gotten of maybe there's a burning factory near theirs out in Indonesia or something of that nature, and you got to deal with this problem. But then you've got stakeholders and money, and you've got to deal with it. Do we tell them? Do we not tell them? How do we do that? And you guys get to play this out. Are you with me? So far, you're getting a little bit of the concept. You're going to be leading this. Now, I want to take a little pressure off you. One is this: it's going to be already wrote for you. It's going to be set up, so you're not going to have to teach everybody that's in your group this. What's going to happen is you're facilitating, and your job is going to be to make sure that everybody speaks up, everybody shares their part, and everybody participates. And then together as a group, you're going to make a decision what's the best way to go about this? How are we going to do this? How are we going to decide what course of action are we going to take short-term and long-term for our company so that we can present this at a press conference? Get excited. Now, here's what's going to happen is in session 8, we're going to have an annual meeting press conference. So, you guys are going to stand up in front of 48 other people in this room, and you get 3 to 5 minutes to say, here's the decision that we made. They're going to be in the back of the room, and they're going to be peppering you with questions, and it's going to get bloody. It's awesome. Not really bloody. Or you could actually even delegate to somebody else if they want to be the spokesperson. Okay, but what ends up happening is you share what you guys decided to do. Everybody else knows the same case. They're going to be somebody else that might ask a question, and they might pepper you with a couple. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay, and then we'll have a couple of different things that will theme through this whole portion. A couple different case studies that we'll look at that'll help us to really understand a better framework to look at ethics. This is an amazing day. This is one of those days that you will graduate from high school and remember, and hopefully you'll be able to take with you as you go into your futures. Okay, let's talk about your roles, and then we'll open it up for questions after just a little bit. Your guys' roles as CEOs. Look at session 2 again. That's going to be an important time for you guys in facilitating. How do you guys know the difference between facilitating and leading? What's the difference?
Well, if you're leading someone, you're trying to show them this is what you should do, and this is how it's set up, and this is how you must do it. If you're facilitating, you're more like, okay, giving someone a proposition, like when you asked her, what's an example of this, and asking them to elaborate a little bit more.
Very good. I think the biggest thing I want to get across to you guys is you need to make sure that everybody, as you said, has autonomy. You want to make sure that everybody in your group is empowered to speak up, that their voice is heard. And that might mean that you have a situation where it's like, Jake's not talking very much, and Jake, what do you think? Does that make sense? Are you with me? Okay? So session 2 is going to give that, where you get a chance to reflect on some of the stuff that we've talked about so far, and it's going to be important for you guys to step up and help out. You're going to need to appoint a timekeeper. Okay, so somebody within the group is going to be a timekeeper. If you want to, let's see, the handout is what I'm going through right now, so you can look along with me in your handout. You're going to appoint a reporter. Okay, so it says other than yourself. Frankly, if you guys choose yourself, that might be a just fine thing as well. So when it comes to the stand up and giving a presentation, you certainly can do it, that's fine. Encourage participants, focus the group, keep them on task, and then also actively listen as they're going through. So restate what they're saying, clarify, make sure that you understand things, because the truth is you're going to be basing decisions of how you run your company based on what's talked about at your group. This isn't just like some test that you get a right or wrong answer. This is how you're directing a company to go. It's real world stuff in a mock simulation form. So it's kind of fun. You know, and there's all kinds of different tips that you can use. Using eye contact, using nonverbals, set limits, refocus, refrain, and redirect. Different things like that to help you to keep going, help you to stay on task. Are you looking at the same page I am, just to make sure?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Let's see. Let me give you just a little bit more of some of the history of this thing, just so you get kind of an idea that this really is kind of a big deal. When they put this together 20 years ago, we've been refining it every single year. And I think every year it's getting a little bit better. One of the things that you'll see that's very cool is they're going to, Principal, I forgot.
Oh, Helke.
Helke, thank you. I was going to say Dave, but you know, it's
Oh, that's okay. Dave's fine.
But one of the things that he mentions, we're going to have some videos that we're going to show you. And each year this is going to get, in my opinion, it's going to get more and more well put together so that you can gather the information and soak it in. You're going to be hearing from these little videos the people that are actually involved in this in a corporation in that role. So the VP of marketing will actually be a vice president of marketing. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. We've gone through the schedule. We've gone through your roles to some degree. Final thing. There's a couple things that I'll open up for questions. There's some pre-reading. So the pre-reading is going to help you guys to get prepared for the case and understand what it is that you are going to be dealing with in the later simulation part. You got to do the pre-reading. Please do that. Make sure that you're well prepared and you're set for these guys to go. It'll also tell you some of the other roles so you can help other people understand it, but hopefully it's going to be easy for them to be able to grasp it, the material. And then the final thing is I want to tell you just a little bit more about Rotary so you can get an idea of what Rotary is that set this whole thing up. Okay? All of these, lady and gentlemen, are Rotarians, and the Burnsville Rotary Club has been around for how long?
33 years, something like that.
33, 35 years? Wonderful. Now, they meet on a weekly basis, and these are professionals from all kinds of different occupations. Would you guys mind just spouting out quick your occupations or prior occupations to retirement if you're retired? Because I know we have a couple of retired gentlemen.
Financial services.
Financial services.
Finances.
Finance.
IT consulting.
Realtor.
Realtor.
Vice President, Human Resources.
Perfect.
Software technology business,
Computer software.
financial services.
Insurance and investments.
Wonderful. So what ends up happening is you get everything from lawyers. We got some lawyers in our Egan group. We let them in. You get every different occupation, and Rotary is huge. There's 1.2 million Rotarians around the world. There's over 30,000 Rotary clubs around the world, and it started many years ago. What, anybody know? On the top of your head?
All years in Chicago.
Yeah, 1902 or
1902 was it?
something.
1905.
1905. Thank you. Thank you. So in 1955, there was a gentleman named Herb Taylor, and Herb Taylor ended up owning a company in Chicago, and it was the Chicago Tea Company. And in the process of him rebuilding this company from bankruptcy to a $30 million company back in that time, or was it 20? Might have been $20 million company back in that time. Herb had this amazing thing that he developed for his coworkers because he had folks that were involved in different, or that were in different religions, that had different backgrounds. And he said, what's an ethical way that I can draw everybody to be on the same page? And he devised this thing, he calls it the four-way test of the things that we think, say, and do. And so this is a test that if you're going to talk to a client, you could ask, is this going to be an ethical thing for me to present this way? Our conversations, what we're dealing with, and here's the 4 questions he'd ask. They'd sound like this. Rotarians, will you help me out? First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? I kind of stumbled on my own accent. So these questions are things that you can ask that can go, it's kind of almost a homing beacon to ethics. It can help you to see, is this going to be a right thing? And it's amazing how all of the studies that have been done with the University of St. Thomas, as well as around the world, or Harvard or whatnot, dealing with ethics and maybe even the moral point of view, which you'll learn, goes hand in hand, hand in glove, side by side with the Rotary four-way test. So is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And that's one of the things that we're going to be teaching a little bit as we go through this, to give you a mindset of, as I'm learning, as I'm doing my symposium, or my simulation. As I'm doing my simulation, this is going to be a guiding post for me to be able to figure out, am I going in the right direction? One of the things that's cool about Rotary is it's worldwide, and we're a service organization. And so we take on enormous service projects. As a matter of fact, Rotary is now down to 3 countries, am I correct? Yeah. We, along with the Bill Gates Foundation, started with Rotary. Bill Gates has helped quite a bit in eradicating polio off the face of the earth. It's down to 3 countries that there's polio. Have you ever heard of polio before? That's a disease that my great uncle has lost his leg due to polio. It's a disease that a lot of times the kids would get, and it's like a flu, except for you lose a limb or something horrific like that. Anyway, Rotary's done a phenomenal job with that, as well as with clean water projects and a lot of local things as well. These Burnsville folks could tell you a lot of the different things they're doing in their community that make a huge difference, and you hadn't even heard of Rotary. But at the same time, one of those right here is this ethics workshop. So, Okay, I'm going to open it up for questions. That's my spiel on this. Directions are clear to, or will be clear as far as for where we're going and what we're doing with that. And then let's open it up. What questions you guys want?
What do we need to bring on for this convention?
That's a great question. Not your cell phone. Not this place. Biggest thing, I would come having had some breakfast, you know, because, is that correct?
No, we were having
serve.
everybody.
We'll serve breakfast.
Oh, so come hungry. Really, if you bring a notebook and a, do they need a notebook and a pen? What, is there, if you want to take notes, I'd recommend it. You don't have to.
That'd be good.
That'd be good. Bring a notebook and a pen and yourself. I'll be quite honest, you know, this is the 6th time that I've done this, but this will be the 3rd time that I've really been involved in this way. I've seen students get dressed up for it. That's kind of cool. I like that. If you want to go that far, I'd recommend it. You know.
Let's talk about that for a second. You are at UTC, so that's United Technologies Corporation. It's Goodrich Sensors Corporation. It is the major employer in Burnsville. It is an aerospace technology corporation. A wonderful opportunity for you if you do want to take a tour. Even if you're at all interested in engineering, I highly recommend it. Even if you're not interested in engineering, I recommend it. If you have time, take that tour. It will educate you and open your mind to possibilities to think about your future that you do, otherwise you cannot enter this building. So this is a privilege that we have. So I would think about what you wear that day, because this is their place of employment. And so you're not walking into the high school that day. You are walking into a professional engineering place, and it is their place of employment. So probably dress up a little bit more than you would ordinarily wear to high school, out of respect for their building. We can't even leave the room that you're in, so even when you go to the restroom, you have to be escorted to the restroom. The fact that they are opening their facility to us really is a huge honor and respect out of their commitment to you and your education. That's how strongly they believe in you and your success. And we should pay that back to them and how we arrived that day.
Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yep, so not a lot, just bring yourself dressed up and ready to rock and roll. Bring an attitude of high expectations, and be ready to go. We'll need you to be ready to go. Be ready to participate. We'll need you to be ready to participate. If you don't see your table people, raise your hand. You guys do it. If somebody shares a good idea in your group, go, dude, you got to tell that. You know what I mean? Let's make this thing rock. It's going to be a good time.
And when you do get there, you're going to have to check in, and then somebody will escort you to the room. So you might want to get there at 5 or 10 after 7, because if you get there at 7:15, you're not going to get back there until 7:20 or so, and then you might be a little short on time for breakfast or using the bathroom or whatever. So.
Right. So the map will show you where you need to park, and then you need to go in a certain door, and you need to check in, and then as a group arrives, they will escort. Same with us, so you're not being treated any different than any of us will be. We as a group get escorted to the room, and someone from UTC will be with us every minute of the day. None of us are allowed to be alone at any minute of the day. They have huge defense contracts and things. It's a very secure facility.
Mary, do they have to have an ID also?
They will probably,
They want us to have a driver's license.
Yeah, I would say bring your driver's license. If you have a driver's license or even your student ID with you, have that with you. It wouldn't hurt if they let me know anything further. You're all pre-registered, and Mr. Hilke's going to get that, so you've all going to,
we'll send,
that will all be submitted to.
Yeah, we'll send your names all over there, because they actually have to have all the names ahead of time, ahead of the workshop. So you'll all be taken care of. I do think that first year we did it, we did ask that you either bring a driver's license or your student ID.
I think you should.
I'm not sure they'll ask you for it, but just in case.
Yeah, have that, just in case. And let us just take a second to say that we are, yes, all Rotarians, but you will see us, one of the Rotarians will also be with you at your table. So these are all Rotarian volunteers and table captains. So as you're facilitating your table, there will be a Rotarian table captain or volunteer who will be at your table with you to not say much, ideally not say anything, but we'll be there with you to support you going through the day. And some of us will be there as floaters just to make sure the day goes really well for everyone involved. So you'll see all of us again that day. That's why we're all here.
Any other questions?
Where do we find the reading?
The question was, where do we find the reading?
I was going to ask, we can do one of two things. I can get a hard copy, and if it's something that I can get a file of, I can also put it on the Moodle site where they can access it.
Would they be able to access that ahead of time?
Yes.
Before they...
Now, the only problem is, do you just want the table leaders to access it?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll probably need a hard copy, because if I put it on Moodle, they can all get to it.
Get to you a hard copy.
Okay. So yeah, so if I'll get that to you when I get you the other material here on Friday or Monday.
Great question. The final thing that I guess I didn't go into detail is that you guys are emergent leaders. That's really what we wanted to choose. I love that we've got such a varied representation of the desire of what you want to do when you get older and what you're involved in. Things like it's a cool group already. I can see that Principal Huck has done a great job selecting you guys.
Social studies teachers.
And you're social studies teachers. But emergent leaders means this: you guys are probably going to be leaders one way or another as you get older. And it's one of those things where you may not lead in the right direction, or you may. You know what I mean? You realize you're leading all the time. As long as there's someone following, you're leading. And so, our hope is that you're the ones as leaders would be able to have this type of thing influence, because it'll influence many as you trickle down in your leadership.